reason why I'm doing this conference in Port Harcourt because I have seen how voiceovers can impact the life of a man. It is a source of income. It can change the social economic landscape of a place. It can reduce crime rates. My first experience with voiceover was 10, 11 years ago, where someone took me to the studio to record something for this GNLD product. It was pages upon pages, more than 15 minutes. And I got paid 1,000 naira. And this is how I got into voiceovers. Yes, 1,000 naira.
One of the biggest problems we have as an industry is that people don't recognize voiceover as a business and even as an industry. They just think that it's just one of those side hustles. And this problem is not exclusive to Port Harcourt. It's across board in the country.
One thing I noticed was that jobs won't come to you if you don't put yourself out there. But the thing is, for people to give you jobs, they actually need to see what you've done.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Everything Voiceovers podcast. Always a good time to be here to speak with you all about what's happening in the voiceover industry in Nigeria, in Africa, and across the world too. But on the episode or in the podcast, I love to talk to my fellow Africans about the voiceover space. What's happening in their space, how they're coping, and how are you coping? So we hope to learn together. We hope to share ideas. And we also hope to document these stories for the future generations and everyone will care to listen to our stories. So welcome again to the Everything Voiceovers podcast, The African Perspective. I am Tcode, your host. And like every week, I've got another guest here who is also a Nigerian voiceover artist, is a brother from another mother, and he's been doing voiceover for quite a while. And I had to bring him on the podcast today because I'm like, hey, man, you're doing something amazing in the voiceover industry. Not many people are able to push to that point where they're like, I'm going to do this. Because, truth be told, organizing a conference for voiceover artists in Nigeria, in Africa, in anywhere in the world takes a lot of guts, right? Especially when you're just starting. For some people who are already doing it over and over and over and over and over again, it might not be as hard as people who are just starting, from the scratch. Well, I'm not the best judge of that because I don't have a conference going, but I support people who already have conferences going, like the Voiceover Conference organized by King Afemike of the Voiceover Workshop and Media. You also have the VO Africa Conference organized by Emeka Onunkwo of the Nigeria Voiceover Bank and Hippo Voices. And now we have a young man who has also decided that it's time for the city of Port Harcourt to have a conference. And he decided to come up with what you call the VO Connect or the Voice Connect conference. And that is something super amazing that I want to talk to him about. But and just in case you're wondering where is Sarah, unfortunately Sarah is not here again. She has a lot going on in Abuja, but hopefully next week she's going to be here. So now let's get straight into the conversation. I've got with me a professional voiceover artist, a writer and author, the founder and creative director of Crimson Stories, is a multifaceted media. Yeah, Stories. A multifaceted media and entertainment company, and which is into stories, comics, and animation. So he's going to tell us more about that too. But he's the convener of Voiceover Connect 1.0, the pioneer voiceover conference in the city of Port Harcourt. This gentleman goes by the name Kaine Robbie, also known as Voice of Robbie. Hi, Robbie.
Hola, Tcode. It's good to be here, brother. It's good to be here. All right.
It's good to have you too, man. Wow. How is Port Harcourt? Let's start from there. For people who don't know Port Harcourt, tell us about Port Harcourt and what we should think about when we think Port Harcourt.
When you think about Port Harcourt, the first thing that should come to your mind is Bole. I say this because I'm a foodie. So I say this because I'm a foodie, yeah. So bole is one of our delicacies where you
Yeah.
have roasted plantain, roasted fish with a kind of sauce on the side. It's amazing. And another thing you can think about when you that comes to your mind when you think about Port Harcourt is the cultural diversity here. River State here are it's colorful. Port Harcourt is a colorful place. And contrary to popular belief
Mm.
where you say PH people are ras and all of that, PH people are actually very cool, though. PH is a very lovely place, right? So if you haven't been to PH in a long time, this is a good time to visit and
Hmm.
explore the city for yourself. It's a very nice and lovely place to be in. PH City boy repping right here. Right.
I love that. I've never been to Port Harcourt before, but I have a lot of people who are Port Harcourt based, and I hope to meet with them soon. Same with you,
Okay.
you're Port Harcourt based, so we're gonna be seeing soon. Hopefully, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
when I'll be at the VO Connect conference. And for context, right, Port Harcourt is in Rivers State.
Yes.
Port Harcourt also is one of those cities that is most referenced in Nigeria. So you talk about Lagos, you talk about Abuja, and it's almost the next thing you talk about is Port Harcourt.
Port
So Port
Harcourt.
Harcourt is
Yeah.
like one of the yeah, it's like the big three of
Mm.
cities in Nigeria, although there are many other cities that are quite big. So yeah, and Robbie has decided that he's gonna have the conference over there. But before we get into the conference, Robbie, I want to know more about you and your journey into voiceover. How did you start your voiceover journey?
How did I start my voiceover journey? Okay, so I would say, you know, I grew up watching a lot of cartoons. I grew up watching cartoons,
Mm.
um, Aladdin, uh, Looney Tunes, and all of that. Yeah, and I heavy influence on me was Robbie Williams, late Robbie Williams, Eddie Murphy, Mel Blanc. You know, so it was for me watching cartoons was a way to express myself. Do you understand? It was something that entertained me and also a way for me to express myself in this way because right now, if you play The Lion King Part One and Two, I could say every conversation word for word. I could mouth it. You get? That's how much I was into cartoons.
Wow.
Yes. If you play it right now, like okay, like now maybe because I'm not watching it now, I may not remember. But once you're playing it, everything just comes, and I'm saying everything word for word from beginning to end. Every character. Do you understand? So that was me growing up. But as I got to mature, I knew I wanted to do voicing for animation, but I didn't know how to get into that. And then I discovered there was something called voiceovers, and that even if you're not yet doing animations, you could use your voice to sell products for people. That's where you get commercial voiceovers and all of that, right? And so I started doing that. My first experience with voiceover was um 11 years ago, where someone took me to the studio to record something for this GNLD product, right? It was pages upon pages, right? More than 15 minutes. And I got paid 1,000 naira. And this was how I got into voiceovers. Yes, 1,000 naira. And so this is how I got into voiceovers. I was like, oh, okay, so I could get paid for using my voice like this. People tell me you have a nice voice. Oh, your voice is good. And that was how it happened. He said, you have a good voice. Come and record this thing for me. And after that, I decided to, search more. What is this thing about the voice? What is this thing where people talk with their voice and all of that? And then I discovered it was voiceovers. I'm like, okay, fine. I want to go into this. I want to understand this more. And, that was how I got into it. So it was the animations and cartoons from beginning that led me on this path.
Wow. 10 years ago, you did your first voiceover. It took, or you were paid 1,000 naira. But
Mm,
then you were more inspired by the craft itself than the money. I guess that's what kept you going. Because if it was about the
yes.
money, 1,000 naira,
Mm.
you're gonna be like, do you mean all the time I just spent was what 1,000 naira? I ain't doing this anymore. But then
It's the
you
craft.
kept going. So tell me about the yeah. So tell me about the growth, really. How did you move from someone who they would pay 1,000 naira to whatever it is that you're earning now? Because I know that you're not just any voiceover artist in Port Harcourt, but you now even have more like a training going, which we're going to get into much soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But how did you grow in that space of time? What were the things you were doing, paying attention to? I mean, did you get more jobs afterwards, or was it a very low decline until you were able to pick yourself up again? What was the growth process from 10 years ago to now for you like?
Okay, so after that, I think I did a couple of things for people, but it wasn't paid. I was just happy with the fact that I was using my voice to do something. And then, when I do this for them, they send it back to me after it's produced and I listen to it. It was something I actually really liked. Do you understand? Listening to myself. Oh, and then seeing the joy on their faces that, you did this, it was nice. We love it, that kind of thing. So, um, there was no really, I wasn't really getting jobs and all of that until 5 years ago when I decided to take it serious as a business. When I decided that, okay, now I want to earn from
Mm.
this thing because I've seen then, I started researching, going to YouTube. I'm watching ads on TV. I'm like, all these people, these things I hear on radio, do they get paid? And then I started asking questions. Google was my friend. You understand? So I started asking questions,
Mm.
listening to people online, taking classes online. And, then I decided that, okay, fine. If people come now, I will charge. And my first professional fee that I actually used my hand to charge was like 2,000 naira. Yeah. And, then I charged. And, after that, 2K. And then after that, I said, okay, good. So this is worth it, yeah. And then I started, putting myself more out there. But the thing is, one thing I noticed was that jobs won't come to you like that if you don't put yourself out there. So we have this idea where we're looking for people to give us jobs. But the thing is, for people to give you jobs, they actually need to see what you've done, then enter Crimson Stories. So with Crimson, we started writing stories. And it just came to me that these stories could be made into audio versions, audio dramas. And then I started voicing the stories. If you listen to some of the stories, you could hear like 4 or 5 characters, and I'm the one playing all of those voices, hence the name Voices of Robbie, right? So the moment we do that,
Mm.
I put out a clip. Yeah, I put out a clip and people are like, you did this, you did this. That made people see what I could do and more jobs kept coming. And then I was always putting myself out there because there is no how you want to make money from this craft if you just do it and keep to yourself. No, let me just go into scripture. He said, you cannot light your lamp and put it under a bushel. I believe that this was something to share with the world. So whenever I get something, um, anything at all, I post it. Anything I do with Crimson, any new audio story, we post it. I'm like, hey guys, I did this, and people got to know about me. And then most of the times, I wasn't the one going for jobs. Now referrals were now coming in because people have seen what I could do. So on Facebook, someone could ask for a voiceover artist, and then there's a tag, and then my name is popping up. And sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. It was like that. I think that's how it happened.
So all of this was in the space of from say 5 years ago to now, right?
Yes.
So we're looking like 2019-ish till 2024. Wow, that's interesting, and you've been able to grow. One of the things I want to point out from what you've said as a lesson to a lot of people is because I keep thinking about the industry. I keep thinking about voice actors. I keep thinking about people's career and how these
Mm,
things can be better. And I I, I quickly realized that aside from direct marketing, one of the ways that people direct emailing, that's what I meant, code emailing and stuff like
okay.
that.
Cold emailing and stuff.
I,
Yes.
people like us, yeah, people, a lot of us, we get going in this craft based on how much we put ourselves out there. The more you put yourself out there, people are aware of what you do, and then they're able to reference you, and referrals just keep coming in after a while because you have proven yourself to the masses, to
Mm,
people who know you and people who don't know you. The social space, the social media space is a gift because it helps you connect to a lot of people. So that's
in,
just to pull a lesson from what you've said, right? Putting yourself out there, being deliberate about every story you put out there was one of your hacks to, the voiceover journey, as it were. Um,
yeah.
so I want to know how. Okay, I think we met. when it was, I think it was last year that we met, right? Because
Yeah, at the Voiceover
I
Conference,
remember
yes.
that okay, you were at the Voiceover Conference last year,
Yes, that was
were
when
you?
we met physically. Yes, yes.
Aha. Are you sure? I thought it was this year.
Oh no, this year.
I
I'm
thought.
fast forwarding. This year.
All right,
This
all
year.
right, all right. So
This year.
then, yeah, but then I'm trying to recall. You attended the Voiceover workshop and media. Well, and was that last year, right, or this year?
I think that was it? I think it was it late last year or early this year? I'm not sure. When Kingi had the VoiceOver Pro crash course, that was when I attended. You know
Was I a
when you
facilitator? I think it was on.
no, no, it was just Kingi.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah.
the one that Justin E ran. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Okay. That's probably this year. I'm not sure I remember though, but oh, I see. I see. You know why I'm asking these questions, right?
Fine.
For me, I am enjoying this story so much because um I I started knowing you mostly this year, and
Yeah.
it was interesting to see how you know you you created a lot of impression to many of us, starting from not just
Okay.
your introduction through the voiceover workshop and media, but also your participation in a couple of things that were happening in the voiceover space via the voiceover workshop and media. There was the
Yeah.
voiceover workshop and media's alumni platform that you were very active on. There was also the voiceover conference that you came and you attended. Um, so you were just doing stuff, and then at the voiceover conference, you were one of the participants for a particular part of the conference, which was based on animation that had Paula Gammon direct that session and teach, and all of
Yeah.
that. And you recall that happened, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
you in this very short period of time had created enough impression around, and then the next thing is you took the big step to plan a conference. Now, again, the reason why this story is really interesting and important for me and for many people is a lot of people would wonder, where did this guy come from?
Come from.
And it'll be easy for a lot of people to assume that, yeah, it'll be easy for people to assume that, oh, you just learned voiceover perhaps this year or late last year, and all of a sudden, in the space of 1 year, you want to start a voiceover conference. Like, what's your track record? But this story goes to show that, I mean, your first entry into voiceover, like recording your voice and getting paid, was 11 years ago. 11 years ago, I'm trying to remember what 11 years ago was like. That was 2012.
20,
Um, Mike, no,
20,
no,
2013.
sorry, 2013. Okay, so I think
Yeah.
about 2013 too. I had already, done literally a voiceover as well. So yeah, maybe about the same time. But then the point is, you've had about 5 to 6 years of doing this consistently, voicing stories, getting clients, charging, writing stories, pushing yourself on social media, and here you are today. So, shout out to you, thumbs up to you, man, and
Thank
welcome. Like,
you.
when I say welcome, I mean welcome in the sense that the mainstream voiceover community wasn't really aware of Voices of Robbie. And also, again, you can look at it from an angle of Voices of Robbie had been operating really in Port Harcourt. And that's why I'm always curious to know what's happening in the voiceover space in different countries and different states.
Please. Yeah.
Because a lot of people exist doing voiceovers outside Lagos and Abuja, but we don't get to know them. We don't get to hear. And because of that, there's a disconnect in the industry, and the
Hmm.
standards are just not even across board. So you see people in these different states and communities and cities charging way lesser versus people in
Mm,
Lagos. There's this sort of disparity because
yeah.
there's a mindset that, oh, Lagos people, are this and every other places. So shout out to
Mm,
you. Thank you for doing what you've been doing and for serving the voiceover community in Port Harcourt. I'm so proud of you and your
thank
team,
you.
and you guys are
Thank
doing
you.
amazing work. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. So let's just get into the conversation of the the conference. You're welcome. Why did
Okay.
you decide to start the conference, Voice Over Connect conference?
Voiceover Connect. Okay, yeah. So this is why. When I was, while I was doing voiceovers here in Port Harcourt, yeah, I I was looking for
Yeah.
a community. The question I used to ask myself, are there other people doing these things? Is there a larger body of people doing voiceovers? Is there like a guild, like you have the Actors Guild of Nigeria? Is there a guild? Is there something like that? I was just doing what I was doing. And one day, one morning, I stumbled on the VO challenge by King E, the voiceover workshop, the feel that challenge. Yeah, I
Mm.
stumbled on it early in the morning around 4 a.m. I was, just I think I was on Instagram, and then I stumbled on it, and I was like, oh wait, there's something like this going on
What year was this?
because I think this was last year. Yes, this was last year when you had
No, okay.
the VO challenge where they released the theme song for this year's conference. That challenge, yeah, right. So I stumbled
Yeah.
on it, and very early, just quickly before I went to work, I recorded my piece, right, and I sent in my participation, and when I saw that, it I kept on following King E, and then it opened me to a whole world of voiceovers. That was where I got to see you. That was where I got to hear of Sarah Sharon Shobo, Femi Bakes, all of you. I was like, God, so my people actually exist, right? And then I started here because it was sort of lonely. Like, so I knew some people here in Port Harcourt, but it's a big body because this is something for me that I actually want to make it big and I actually want to impact. I want to share my knowledge. I want to entertain as well, just do things in this industry. So I didn't know if there was something like that. But when I came in contact with that challenge, it just opened me up to a whole new world. I was like, oh, my people actually exist. And then I kept on following you. I was consuming your content voraciously, King E's content, Shehu Shobo, all of you. I followed plenty. I was spending hours on your Instagram pages because I had seen. And
Mm.
then Kingi now had the class. I quickly registered, right? Because I believe that even if in your own way you know some things, you don't know everything. So I registered for that course to see how I could improve myself. And yes, it really helped me. So while I took that course, I was weighing it against myself, like with what I already know. I was like, okay, good, you need to improve here. Okay, you're okay here, but you can do better this way. And then one of the things the course exposed me to was that I'd been on the charging.
Mm. True.
Right? It made me see that I was on the charging. And that course actually boosted me, helped me. And then the conference, when I heard there was going to be a voiceover conference for the very first time, that was the first time I was hearing it. I was like, I was going to be there. Months before the time I booked my flight. And I came to Lagos and I attended the conference. But before I came for that conference, like 2 months before I came for that conference, I was having this nudging in my heart, right? To um get the voiceover people in Port Harcourt together. And I kid you not, the picture, what I wanted to do was, in fact, we created one flyer that was just there. I will bring out that flyer after this conference. You could see the difference because there was a mindset shift. So
Mm.
one flyer, and the idea was put this flyer up on Facebook and any of the, announce that, hey, voiceover artists in Port Harcourt, let's just do a meet and greet, something like that. We'll meet at Pleasure Park. Pleasure Park is a place in Port Harcourt. We could just sit on the grass, have fun, talk. But while I was planning to do that, in my heart, the picture I was seeing was a picture of a big hall, a big event. But I didn't know how to go about that. I was afraid, but I didn't know how to go about that. So when I saw the voiceover conference, I said, good, let me go and see pictures. And then I came. And
Mm.
when I came, it just let me see that this thing I had in my heart, because there were two pictures, the one where I wanted to just sit down in the garden with people and the one where it was supposed to be big. When I came and I saw what King E did, I was like, okay, fine, this thing is actually really possible. Here is a man, and this is the fifth time he's doing it. It means it's really, really possible. And so I told my spiritual mentor about it, Rena Davis of the Mowbray School on Telegram, the Mowbray Institute of Change. I told him, and the first thing he said to me was, make it big, go all out, go for sponsors. That kind of, emboldened and encouraged me. And I took it as, okay, fine. Yes, I was going to do this. Because one of the ways, now let me say this. If it wasn't for God, if God didn't tell me to do this, there was nothing on this world, on this earth, that will make me do this. Because most of these things, you don't go into them with your clear eye. And then looking at the economy, questions, how will I get the money? Who is going to come? How am I going to fund it? Do you understand? But when I said it to my mentor, he said, go out, make it big. And then I came to Lagos, I saw what Kingi was doing. And then I prayed. I saw that it was possible. And, the heart, the liver, the kidney, the courage, everything came. And, we started. We started without a dime. I got people around. Most of the people on the team are people I had already trained, my students, right? I was like, guys, let's do this in Port Harcourt. Let's take this city, this gospel, because I call it the gospel of voiceovers. This thing needs to be spread abroad, right? And then we started. And the reason why I'm doing this conference in Port Harcourt, because I have seen how voiceovers can impact the life of a man, because it is a source of income. It can change the social economic landscape of a place. If you have more people who are financially self-sufficient, it can reduce crime rates, right? And then I see that in Port Harcourt is not like Lagos. Lagos, you guys have it all together. You guys are very packaged and all of that. Port Harcourt is coming. We're good what we're doing. But I dare say that we could come up. And with businesses, the government and all of that here, voiceovers is something that they need, even if they might not see that. You need voiceover artists to promote your products. You need voiceover artists in the government and all of that. And so this was why I decided that, okay, this city needs to hear about this. The people, the youths, they need this thing. They need to know that it's not just all about standing in the streets or having a 9 to 5. There's another way that you can make good money for yourself, because voiceovers, one job can pay you more than your 9 to 5, right? And the thing is, they even know about it, but they don't know what it's called. And I got this from most of the people I've taught. So if there are people like this, they must be more. And so we decided that this conference has to hold, so that people would see that there is a whole world that can be that you can go into this voiceover thing and make money for yourself. Like King E will always say, it's a world of unfathomable possibilities, and this is what we want to show the people in this region. That's why we decided to go for the
Wow.
Voiceover Connect.
Wow, this is amazing, right? I feel inspired already to see how you ran with this vision. And shout out to everybody running with visions, either similar or not, but you have a conviction, and regardless of how daunting of a task it could look or how impossible it looks, you still run ahead and you do it, right? It's a
Mm,
noble thought that you have, sustained about the voiceover industry, or, you know, because again, if I look at it from another angle, it's like it's arguable to say that there is a voiceover industry in Port Harcourt, but
mm,
with what you're doing, you are kind of like cementing that reality and saying
yes.
the industry exists because this is a service that is in need, and there are people rendering that service. We just don't know what it's called. We have not just been able to identify it, and now
Mm,
I am helping you people see the big picture. So now
mm,
you are going to understand it's a craft, it's a profession, and you can be proud of doing it. Because I
yes.
realize a lot that I realize that a lot of what we do as voiceover artists is a service that most people have relegated to just OAPs, TV presenters, broadcasters generally, and
Mm,
even them, many of them don't see it as a prestigious craft. They just take it as a side hustle that they would get some peanut, in quotes,
exactly.
to do.
Yes.
And they're really excited about it. So you want to talk
Mm.
about that? I see
Okay.
your
So
reaction to that.
yeah, because So on the way to the Voiceover Conference, which will happen on the 14th, yeah, we're having sessions on Instagram. We call them the Road to the Voiceover Connect, where we're having speakers. And one of the speakers we spoke on Saturdays, she's an OAP, right? A radio broadcast journalist, right? And a voiceover artist. So this thing you said, yeah, is they don't see it as something that's something you can be proud to call yourself. And so hence when this thing comes to them, they just um take it with levity and charge peanuts. Now, if they could understand how much of a big industry it is, then they would be able to charge appropriately. They would see that, no, this thing is not just my voice. This is an industry that can affect lives, affect the polity, the politics of the nation, that can affect the region. Do you understand? So it's something that because when I was talking with a lady on Saturday, she mentioned that one of the reasons why OEPs, right, will charge less is because they don't see the importance of this industry. They don't even know it's an industry to begin with. Or most of them know, or but they just don't care, right? But the thing is, if because most people, if they don't go to regular voiceover artists like us, they want to go to radio, and these people can see this as a source of income. It's a source of income for them if they actually understand what this industry is about. You understand? And the reason that they treat it with levity and undercharge is because they don't know about it. And because they don't know about it, they charge less. They just handle it anyhow. So I tend to agree with you with what you were saying there. It's because there's no knowledge for this thing. And that's one of the things we want to eradicate in this region. Bring the
Mm,
knowledge that there is an industry. It's a big deal. Yeah. Let them see outside Nigeria, in Kenya,
mm,
South Africa, the voiceover communities are more, advanced, and let them see that, look, this thing is actually a big deal and you can make more. And if you understand what this industry is, understand the standards, then it's even possible for you to make more money because you're an OAP, people know you. You already have the advantage of
mm.
radio where people get to hear you daily. That's enough ready for you to make more money, right? Yeah, so that's the thing.
Yeah,
The thing of not understanding the industry is why they treat it with
yeah,
levity and don't charge appropriately.
yeah. You're spot on there, and I agree with you. One of the biggest problems we have as an industry is that people don't recognize voiceover as a business and even as an industry. They just think that it's just
Mm,
one of those side hustles, and this problem is not exclusive to Port Harcourt. It's across board
okay.
in the country, and because it's something I've noticed, I even also went to I was in Abuja a couple of times this year to understand what voiceover is like over there as well. And even speaking to some of the top radio presenters in Abuja, it's the same over there too. They don't really understand what the value for voiceover is. And I feel like we need to do a lot of sensitization. We need to
Yes.
preach the voiceover gospel more, especially to the people who
Yes.
have the talent and capacity to do so, precisely the OAPs, because for them, they have the avenue of a recording studio based on their work. They're familiar with the mic, they
Yeah.
talk all the time. So it comes to them easier than the average person. So they don't
True.
abuse this talent and skill. But the problem is not just even with them. It's also with the way people generally perceive voiceover. If people don't also
Mm,
give value to it, it's difficult for the OAPs also to also convince people that this is valuable, although
yeah.
the work starts from them. But
Mhm,
the problem is very multifaceted. Also, you have the
yeah.
broadcast system. So when I say broadcast system, I'm not just talking about the OAPs now. I'm talking about even the broadcast companies. Because when clients go to broadcast stations looking for voiceover work, the first people they meet is most likely the marketers or the receptionist, or they go to the managers, and the conversation
Mm,
goes on, and the managers are the ones who then say, oh, we've got voiceover artists, or we've got radio presenters who can do this voiceover for you. And
for
sometimes the
you.
negotiation happens from the manager's desk, right? Before the person who is going to do voiceover is just then called up to come to the voiceover. So it doesn't, first of all, it doesn't have a bargaining privilege. Then he has to receive whatever the manager decides to pay. And then, so it's, the problem is just so systemized. So and I feel, or I believe that it will take a systemized approach to tackle the problem as well. And I'm going to say it openly because these are ideas that I've always thought about. And I hope that somebody is able to listen and take it and run with it, even though I know the body that is supposed to do that. But I believe that if we can deliberately include the broadcast conversation or the broadcast industry into our conversations, into our world as voiceover artists, absorb them, help them understand the value of voiceover, then they can also begin to treat it as a decent craft and not abuse it. Because again, we can say they're abusing it, but most of them don't even know. So when you don't know the value of a
No,
thing, you're definitely going to abuse it. So it's important. Yeah,
that's true.
they are major stakeholders.
Yes, they are
Yeah,
very major stakeholders.
yeah. Yeah. So as major stakeholders, we need to include them in the conversation, and that way we can, continuously repair the image of voiceover in the public. But shout out to you, man. So quickly, tell us about what we can expect at the conference coming December 14th in Port Harcourt.
Okay, so um, the way I and my team wired this conference, the way I wired it and sold the vision to my team is that for the next couple of years, as God gives us grace, we're going to be telling a story. This is because of my background in storytelling, being a storyteller and a writer, right? So it's a story, and we're starting the story with finding your voice. That's the theme for this year's conference, finding your voice. So the conversations will revolve around this theme, finding your voice. And you can't talk about voiceovers and not talk about the business aspect and all of that. Yeah, so we're going to include all of that. But it's going to be a conference where a lot of people will look, we already have people who are going to be coming from Enugu, from Benin City, like the message be telling me they're coming, right? So we're going to have sessions where you're going to hear from people in the radio, because the reason why you're going to hear from someone in the radio is because she understands this craft. She's a voiceover artist and an OEP as well. So you're going to hear from them. You're going to hear from people in the animation and movie industry in this region right here, right? Talking about Toon Republic and all of those people. We're also going to be hearing from um, our own beloved Sodonu, because right now in this age, we're in the age of content, right? And as a voiceover artist, voiceovers has gone beyond the point where it's just you behind your mic in your house. No, these days people want to see you. Why? Because it creates the trust, it creates the connection, it creates the reality. Okay, I know this person, he's real, she's authentic, I can do business with them. And people just seeing you helps you. So we're going to have something on content creation for voiceover artists, right? And we're going to have the business as well. Definitely, we're going to have a workshop session, where we're going to maybe have something like maybe code reads or people come out to showcase their prowess. It's going to be very, very fantastic. We already know what we want to do next year, and I'll just share a little bit. It's going to include something about the culture and our dialects, because I see voiceovers as one of the ways to restore the dying art of our language. If you see today, most people are forgetting to speak the language, right? So for next year's conference, we are going to have people who will voiceover artists, people will come in with this language thing, because voiceovers is not just English. It's English, there's Pidgin, there's Ibibio, there's Igbo, there's Hausa, and you can make money from these things. You can do a whole lot of good. Do you understand? We're going to include that in next year's conference. So this is basically what you can expect from this conference. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. My Port Harcourt people like Bedu. So there might be a musical performance from one very top rising artist in the region. Might be. We're still keeping that on lock. We're still working behind the scenes for that. So that's what you can expect. You can expect great
Wow.
things.
That great, great, great. I feel good about it already, and I'm excited because I'm also going to be at the conference, right? Um,
Yeah.
what would it take to be at the conference? Is it a paid conference? Is it free for people who aren't in Port Harcourt? Can they be a part of it? Tell us.
Okay. Okay. So the conference is free, fantastically free. Yeah.
Mm,
But registration is compulsory. Just register. And if for any reason you can't be in Port Harcourt, we are going to be broadcasting live, so you can connect with us on our Facebook page and on YouTube. We're going to be streaming live. This is a gospel. And just like you see how people go out of their way to spread the gospel of Jesus, that's how I and my team are going out of our way to spread the gospel of voiceovers, because I have seen firsthand, that's me, how this thing can change your life. I mean, you have a 9 to 5, you make money, but sometimes a voiceover job can come and give you more than your 9 to 5. It helps. It helps. It can help you put food on your table, help your family, reduce crime rates in the city. It helps. It helps a lot. This is,
mm.
oh God, that's why we're doing what we're doing. It's a whole lot, and it's my prayer and belief that as things like this keep springing up, it's going to be an industry to reckon with, that's going to change the face of this city, every city where you find it, and Africa at large. Yeah,
Amen. Amen. Bless you, brother.
man.
Um, for people who want to stay consistent with following what's happening in Port Harcourt, especially with the Voiceover Connect conference, how do they
Yeah.
do that? What are the social media handles and places they can reach out?
Okay, so you can follow us on Instagram at VoiceOver Connect, Facebook at VoiceOver Connect, and on TikTok at the VoiceOver Connect. But basically, just come to Instagram. You see us. We're very, very active on Instagram. Like I'm very partial to Instagram. Instagram just does it for us, we voiceover artists. I don't know. Facebook is good and all of that, but just come to Instagram, VoiceOver
Yeah.
Connect at Instagram, and you're going to see everything we're doing. Right. Yeah. And the website is also there, www.voiceoverconnect.com.ng. You can visit. We've not unveiled our speakers for December 14th, but you can visit and you see those who have spoken on the road and those who will yet speak on the road to VoiceOver Connect. So visit. Join.
Amazing, amazing. Shout out to you and your team. You guys are doing a great job, by the way. I like the visual expression for the view voiceover connect conference. Like the graphic designers are doing great. Like, well done, guys. Wow,
Sorry,
Robbie, it's a pleasure talking to
let
you.
me
Yeah,
Yeah.
please go
Let
on.
me just use this opportunity. Please permit me to just toot the horn, because you're not the only person who has said that he likes the visuals. It's just one guy, and that guy has been a blessing.
Wow.
He is the one that has been designing everything. His name is Ben Bright. For some reason, he doesn't post his work on Instagram, and I'm going to be pushing him. He's freakingly good. He's the one. Thank you for letting me put that out there. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Just before we go, right? I also want to a bit about you. We already talked about how you got into voiceover, but then you're a writer, a storyteller. You are
Yeah,
into comics and all of that, and you do that under
yeah,
your company, which you are the creative director and founder. That's Crimson
yeah,
Stories. Just give us a
yeah.
little bit about that, and in case someone is listening and the person would want to patronize you guys for what you do, we need to know what you do, and yeah, just so
Okay.
you can chip that in right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Crimson, Crimson all started with the need to have sanitized and sensitized content for children and the entire family, right? So all of our stories
Mm,
are faith-based stories. But the thing is,
mm,
this thing where people say, "Oh, Christian stories are boring." You've not read a Crimson story. When you read a Crimson story, then you will know that faith-based stories are actually fantastic, because you know how you see superheroes and all of that. Those things are just like a copy of the original thing. Because when Jesus came, everything he did on earth, he did as a man, showing you and I what we are capable of. So in Crimson Stories, you would definitely see people with powers and all of this. And this is because that's who we are. You know what? I like Aquaman. I like Aquaman because Aquaman shows you exactly who what Adam was like. Adam named all the animals. The fishes in the sea, the deep, those animals, did they come up for Adam to name? Adam must have gone into the ocean. He must have had eyes that could blaze to see the dark, the deep. Do you understand? So at Crimson, our
Mm.
stories are faith-based that keep your children grounded, keep you grounded, that entertain you as well as bless you, right? And we also have audio versions of our stories. In fact, there's this series we're working on. I'm not sure it's going to end. It's titled The Adventures of Timmy, and this is one of my favorite because it's for children, right? And it shows the relationship between children, parents, and teachers, right? What these adventure stories do is that it teaches kids principles, values, the importance of telling the truth, the importance of hard work, diligence, the importance of keeping good friends, the importance of obedience. These are episodes I'm mentioning, right? And it's amazing. So you can find us at www.crimsonstories.com. Or right now, our website is under maintenance and should be up in a couple of days. We have our storybooks there. We have the audio versions. The audio versions are free, very free, so you can listen to the audio versions. The PDFs are paid for and they're not expensive. 1,115. You can afford it. Just buy, read, and get testimonies. And the amazing thing about our stories is that when people read them, they say they see the visuals. And that's why one of the things we want to do is have our own animation. And, God willing, these things will come. So we just have the stories, we have the comics for some of them, audios, and very soon the animations.
Hmm. Wow. I'm fascinated. Again, how do we get access to this
Thank
stuff?
Yeah, it's on the website,
Okay.
www.crimsonstories.com. You can go there and you can see those things. You can also follow us on Instagram, Crimson Stories, right? Yeah. Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Robbie. It's been a pleasure talking
Thank
to
you.
you today about your story, your journey, the Voiceover Connect conference, which is happening on the 14th of
Mm,
December in Port Harcourt. And you've plugged it
yes.
in. There's also a website for that. I believe the Voiceover
Yeah.
pardon me. The Voiceover Conference
Connect.com. Yeah.
dot com, the Voiceover Connect Conference.com, right? Or the VO, is it the
So
VO?
voice over voice.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's voiceoverconnect.com.ng.
Or voiceoverconnect.com.ng. All right. Thank you so
Right.
much, Robbie. It's
Yeah.
been a great conversation. And shout out to you and every other person in Port Harcourt, Sodonu, and all the voiceover artists over there doing great stuff like you. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Tcode. Thank you for having me on the Everything Voiceovers podcast. And thank you for being one of our amazing speakers in this Pioneer Voiceover Connect conference in Port Harcourt. We cannot wait to have you, sir.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be a speaker at the Pioneer Voiceover Conference in Port Harcourt. I can't wait to be there and let's have a great time together. All right, guys. So you heard it from
Amen.
Robbie, the convener, and yes, if anything that you're gonna take away from this episode today, let it be that let it inspire you. Let this episode inspire you to pursue your dreams, see it, believe it, run with it, and it will
Mm,
come to pass. Right. Shout out to every voiceover artist too that are doing it. Your career is worth it. It may not, it may look like you're
mm,
struggling with many things right now, but you need to, probably just take a break, reassess stuff, and get back on track, but don't give up. There is a lot more that you can achieve if you are able to look deeper and also get inspired. And that's
mm,
what we're doing via this podcast to keep you inspired every week. Because, like Robbie said, it can be a lonely journey. But when you listen to episodes like this and other episodes, you get to realize that you're not the only one. There are many people doing this across the country, across the world, and yeah, we've got ourselves to tap from when it comes to staying motivated. So yeah, thank you for listening to this episode. If you want to
yeah.
show us love on the podcast, there's a link in the description where or in the show notes where you can just, donate to the podcast to keep this gospel going. Shout out to everybody. Join us on the next episode of the podcast. This is episode 58, 59 actually. The next episode is episode 60, and I have to let you know, guys, that that is the last episode for this season. So you don't want to miss it. Sarah is going to be back, and we're just going to have some great time. And then, yeah, we'll drop a couple of bonus episodes before the year ends. Thank you so much for listening. I am Tcode. It's been a great time, and I'll see you next week. Bye.